Mike Jansen would come forward and deliver an invocation to the group.
Thank you, board members, for allowing me to pray with you. We can assume an attitude of prayer for just a moment or two. Heavenly Father, when you said, feed my people, Lord, here we are. We are the chosen ones. We're to put in the long hours, do the things it takes to feed your people. You've given us the knowledge, you've given us technology, and you've given us people to help us to do so. And Heavenly Father, we ask that you be with us this fall. And we thank you for the rains that you've given us. Allow us to have a safe and bountiful harvest. Heavenly Father, we ask that you be with all of us here tonight, and our board, as we make decisions tonight that satisfy you. It is your will be done. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Jansen. I would like to call Brock Eustace, the board secretary, to the podium, and he will read the minutes from our previous annual meeting.
I'm actually just going to call the meeting to the stockholders of the Ursa Farmers Cooperative Company. Notice is hereby given by order of the Board of Directors that the 105th annual meeting of the stockholders of Ursa Farmers Cooperative Company will be held on Tuesday, August 19, 2025, beginning at 7 p.m. at the Ursa Admin Office in Ursa, Illinois, for the following purposes: to receive and act upon the reports of the officers and directors from the preceding year, for the election of directors who serve for a term of 1 or 2 years. Nominations include Jason Plunkett, 2 years. Drew Gassler, 2 years. Craig Suter, 1 year. Any new business that may come before the board. Brock Eustace, Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Eustace, for correcting me. I would like to call Karen Voss to the podium to do the teller report.
Good evening. This evening, August 18th, 2025, we have registered preferred common stock and qualified equity total votes of 233,862. We need 33 1/3% for quorum this evening, which is 77,876 votes. This evening we have registered 87,289 votes. Therefore, we have a quorum.
Thank you, Karen. This time, when Brock comes to the podium, we'll deliver the board of directors' secretary's report from last meeting.
The 104th annual meeting of Ursa Farmers Cooperative was called to order. Eric Grady began the meeting with a moment of silence for those we have lost in the past year. He then led the meeting in the Pledge of Allegiance. Mike Jansen was called up for the invocation. Brock Eustace read the call of the meeting, followed by Karen Voss presenting the teller's quorum report. There were 289,593 votes available from stock and equity. 33.33% is needed for a quorum. 96,521 votes are needed for a quorum. There were 113,467 votes registered in person or by proxy. A quorum was present. Brock Eustace presented the Secretary's report with the reading of the minutes from the 103rd annual meeting, followed by Eric Cass's Treasurer's report. Roger Hugenberg gave the General Manager's report. Roger discussed the tough decisions the co-op had to make this year and the role of the Board of Directors. He then thanked Charles Kruger and Eric Cassis for their 10 years of service on the board. Roger also thanked all the 2024 retirees for all of their years of service to the co-op. Roger also made it a point to thank all 4,700 patrons for UFC. Ken Booker gave the Operations Manager's report. Ken discussed all the changes in the feed mill over the years. He discussed the necessity of closing it, but how truly sad it is and how many careers within the co-op started with the feed mill. Ken thanked all employees and patrons who worked at or with the feed mill over the years. Ken then discussed grain and that UFC can load 30 barges in any week, 1.5 million bushels. He discussed Harvest 24 preparations and thanked all UFC customers and suppliers. Scott Meyer recognized special guests that were in attendance, followed by Eric Raby leading election of directors. Eric called Kyle Roskin to be temporary chairperson for the election of officers. Kyle Roskin called on Terry Slitman to be the temporary secretary and called on Ted Norris to give the secretary's report from the nominating committee meeting. Kyle called on Karen Voss to present the election results. Brock Eustace, Eric Raby, Lance Arnold, and Jared Moore were elected to a term of 2 years on the UFC board of directors. John Schmidt motioned to accept the election results, and Joe Zumwalt seconded the motion. Terry Slitman cast the unanimous vote. Motion carried. Roger and the board of directors presented Eric Cassins and Charles Kruger a clock in appreciation for their years of service on the UFC board of directors. Eric Raby asked for any unfinished business to be brought before the board. There was no unfinished or new business brought to the board's attention. Tannerman Dress and Vindenberg gave a video presentation of the UFC-sponsored trip to South America. Eric Raby, the UFC board, and anyone that attended or is currently attending John Wood Community College did a ceremonial check presentation to the John Wood Community College or Ag Center for $40,000. Eric Raby gave closing remarks and adjourned the meeting. Respectfully submitted by Brock Eustace, Secretary.
Thank you, Brock. Next to the podium is Jason Plunkett, our treasurer. He's going to walk you through the treasurer's report.
Total current assets, $71,777,600, compared to last year of $55,192,298. Total property and equipment, $56,562,821, compared to last year of $57,291,191. Total other assets, $9,477,420, compared to $9,138,303. Total assets equal $137,817,841, compared to $121,621,792 last year. Total current liabilities are $50,191,544, compared to $47,409,273. Total long-term liabilities, $31,943,411 versus $23,878,271 last year. Total patronage equity is $55,682,886 compared to last year of $50,334,248. Total liabilities and patrons' equity equals $137,817,841 compared to the year last year of $121,621,792. Grain margin, $16,452,703 compared to $11,249,792 last year. Merchandise margin, $221,005 versus $1,312,871 last year. Gross trading margin was $16,673,708 versus $12,562,663 last year. Service income, $7,752,983 versus $7,713,522 last year. Total operating expense, $17,006,400, $17,006,417 versus $18,356,282. Income from operations was $7,419,474. Last year was $1,919,903. Total other income, $649,630 versus $4,089,302. Provision for income taxes, $1,406,970 versus $591,960 last year. Net earnings, $6,662,134 versus $5,417,245.
Thank you, Jason, for presenting those financials to us. At this time, I'd like to call our General Manager, Roger Hickenberg, to the podium.
Good evening, everybody. We do have a few extra seats. Tim, Kyle, Mike, you guys want to come up and find a seat, help yourself. We do appreciate everybody coming out tonight. So, good evening. Welcome to the 105th annual meeting of Mercy Farmers Co-op. Tonight we come together for purposes of communicating prior year results, for discussion and action associated with governance. Governance entails election of board members and review of bylaws to make sure your cooperative is relevant and serving its current members. We also come together tonight in fellowship, as in a few short weeks, we will be busy with what appears to be a very large harvest. Results. You just heard the audit report from Jason. Let's spend just a minute with the highlights. Last year, I communicated that we achieved record earnings. Last year when I gave this presentation, I communicated that we had achieved record earnings in excess of $6 million. That we'd increased working capital by $5 million to a little over $12 million, and that we had boosted shareholder equity. Not to sound like a broken record, but I'm back again with a similar message tonight. Your cooperative had a record year across many fronts. Net savings or net income prior to taxes was over $8 million. Working capital increased from 13.8 to now just over 21 million. And shareholder equity increased by over 5 million to 55,600,000. These numbers are the result of a record year on grain receipts and shipments. This information is available in detail within your annual meeting book. Please take time to read the various reports and better understand the financial health of your cooperative. Governance. Following my report tonight and the operations report given by Ken Bucker, we will move into the governance aspect of your cooperative, and that is the election of directors. It is my hope that each of you understand the importance and benefit of ownership and your ability to have a say in how your cooperative is run. Your cooperative is governed by a 7-member board of directors. Each director represents a specific trade area within UFC territory. Considerable time and effort are spent analyzing your cooperative direction, keeping the following in mind. Cooperatives around the world operate according to the same set of core principles and values adopted by the International Cooperative Alliance. Cooperatives trace the roots of these principles to the first modern cooperative founded in Rochdale, England in 1844. These principles are a key reason that America's cooperatives operate differently from other entities, putting the needs of their members first. The seven cooperative principles are as follows. Number 1, open and voluntary membership. Membership in a cooperative is open to all people who can reasonably use its services and stand willing to accept the responsibilities of membership, regardless of race, religion, gender, or economic circumstances. Principle number 2, democratic member control. Cooperatives are democratic organizations controlled by their members, who actively participate in setting policies and making decisions. Representatives, or directors, are elected among the membership and are accountable to them. Members accumulate ownership and voting rights. Principle number 3, members' economic participation. Members contribute equitably to and democratically control the capital of their cooperative. At least part of that capital remains the common property of the cooperative. Members allocate surpluses for any and all of the following purposes: developing the cooperative, setting up reserves, benefiting members in proportion to their transactions with the cooperative, and supporting other activities approved by the membership. Principle number 4, autonomy and independence. Cooperatives are autonomous, self-help organizations controlled by their members. If they enter into agreements with other organizations, including governments, or raise capital from external sources, they do so on terms that ensure democratic control as well as their unique identity. Principle number 5, education, training, and information. Education and training for members, elected directors, general managers, and employees help them effectively contribute to the development of their cooperative. Communications about the nature and benefit of cooperatives, particularly with the general public and opinion leaders, help boost cooperative understanding. Principle number 6, cooperation among cooperatives. By working together through local, national, regional, and international structures, cooperatives improve services, bolster local economies, and deal more effectively with social and community needs. And then finally, the last principle, principle number 7, concern for community. Cooperatives work for the sustainable development of their communities through policies supported by their membership. Is that a mouthful? Governance. As we think about cooperative principles, and as we use these to effectively manage your cooperative on a day-to-day basis, on occasion we find that changes need to be made. In 1920, when UFC was formed, the bylaws were written that each share of common stock and preferred stock issued had 1 vote. In addition, a patron receives 1 vote for every $25 in qualified allocated equity to the patron. The founding fathers of UFC had never heard of or was aware of the concept of non-qualified equity. So now, if you get a chance, if you follow along in your annual meeting book, open up page 4, and you'll see the balance sheet on the left side. So Jason read this when he went through the balance sheet. But I want you to focus your attention under patron's equity. This is really the meat and bones of your cooperative. So under patron's equity, the first category you're going to see there is preferred stock of $116,250. This is the original stock purchased to start UFC. And these shareholders receive an annual dividend, usually amounting to 6%. Now, each share of preferred stock has 1 vote. Moving down, the next 2 lines talk about qualified and non-qualified certificates of allocation. Let me try to explain both from the cooperative and from the member's perspective. As you know, we issued both this past fiscal year, and I hope this helps you understand why. So under qualified certificates of allocation, we're showing $4,713,787. So from the cooperative's perspective, the cooperative is allowed a tax deduction for the entire qualified patronage distribution in the year of the distribution. From the member's perspective, the member owner includes the full distribution, both cash and equity portions, as taxable income in the year it's allocated, regardless of when the equity is actually redeemed for cash. So in essence, you pay tax up front on the entire allocation. When the qualified equity is eventually redeemed for cash, you, the member, receive it tax-free. The current bylaws today state that every $25 in qualified allocated equity results in the patron receiving 1 vote. So keep that in mind as we move forward. The next line you see is unqualified certificates of allocation. It shows $3,612,555. So again, from the cooperative's perspective, the cooperative does not receive a tax deduction for the non-qualified patronage distribution in the year of the application. They receive a deduction or credit when the non-qualified equity is eventually redeemed or paid out to you, the members. That's the co-op side. From the member side, from your side, the member owner does not include the non-qualified equity portion as taxable income in the year of allocation. Instead, they pay tax on the amount received when the non-qualified equity is redeemed or paid out in the future. So as mentioned in a separate letter titled Resolutions of Shareholders that we mailed out to each of you, the current bylaws have no provision for allowing voting rights for non-qualified stock. The board has the authority to amend the bylaws, and tonight we'll be asking for a vote to allow voting rights to be issued for non-qualified stock. So let's recap again the key differences in issuing qualified versus non-qualified. So one of the big differences here is timing of taxation. The most significant difference between qualified and non-qualified is the timing of the tax burden. Again, with qualified, you're taxed up front for the member with a future tax-free redemption. With the non-qualified, you're tax deferred for the member until redemption, with the co-op also deferring the deduction until redemption. There's a cash payout requirement. Qualified distributions generally require a minimum cash payout, typically at least 20% alongside the equity portion. Non-qualified allocations have no such requirement. Member cash flow. High-income member patrons may prefer non-qualified distributions as they avoid a potential negative cash flow situation, where the tax owed on a qualified allocation exceeds the cash portion received. We have heard complaints about this in the past, where we issued a 20% cash, so we declared qualified. You have to do a minimum of at least 20%. So we declared qualified, we declared 20%, and then the cash portion does not offset the total tax obligation. We've heard complaints about that in the past. Cooperative flexibility. Non-qualified allocations offer cooperatives greater flexibility in managing cash flow and tax planning, as cooperatives can time the redemption of non-qualified equity to optimize their tax deductions. Patron tax rates. Again, this is an assumption, but I stated, the preferred method depends on the tax rates of both the cooperative and the member patron. So while we're at it, let's close out the balance sheet by viewing the last line under patron's equity. This is the unallocated capital reserve. This shows $47,164,081. This is patron equity on the balance sheet that is not assigned or has a patron name on it. It's unassigned. Unallocated patron equity, also known as unallocated retained earnings or reserves, is a vital component of a cooperative's financial structure, serving several critical purposes. Number one, it acts as a financial cushion against losses. Unallocated equity can be drawn upon to offset losses incurred by the cooperative, preventing the need to reduce the value of a member's allocated equity or their shares. This helps maintain the stability and financial integrity of the cooperative, especially during lean years or economic downturns. Number two, it provides a permanent capital base. Unlike allocated equity, which is eventually revolved or paid back to the members, unallocated equity is considered permanent capital, providing long-term foundation for the cooperative's operations and growth. This is particularly beneficial for financing long-term investments in equipment, facilities, or expansion. Number three, enhances borrowing capacity and creditworthiness. Lenders view a strong, unallocated equity base favorably as it demonstrates the cooperative's financial strength and ability to absorb risk. This can improve the cooperative's ability to secure loans and lines of credit at favorable terms, facilitating access to necessary capital for growth and operations. Number four, it provides a source of capital for non-member business. So unallocated equity is often generated from profits derived from non-member business activities. Retaining these profits as unallocated equity provides the cooperative with a source of capital that doesn't need to be allocated or revolve back to the members. In essence, unallocated Patron Equity acts as a safeguard and enabler for cooperatives, promoting its long-term financial health, stability, and growth. In closing, UFC had a record year. We generated earnings before taxes in excess of $8 million. We returned back to you, the membership, over $4 million of these earnings, with retiring old stock, thus keeping control of the co-op of those that are using it. We declared a patronage of 4.5 cents per bushel, with the use of qualified stock paid at 100% cash, and the use of non-qualified. We had 273 new members added this year that will now have ownership in UFC. We anticipate a large crop. We have an employee base that is second to none, and our locations are ready to serve you. I wish each of you a bountiful and safe harvest. God bless.
Thank you, General Manager and Brother Hubert. At this time, I would like to call Operations Manager Kent Butter to the podium.
Good evening. Hope you enjoyed another trip around the sun last year. It's been a good one for us. I think it's been a good one for producers. So we had a bountiful crop, big harvest last year. We got off to a delayed start on loading river barges in March, and then actually got into April before we got fully into the river. We have successfully almost got everything emptied out here within the next day or two, and I say that we got one of the river houses that's got a little ways to go yet. But he'll get there. We're going to get him there. So, been blessed with this staff and employees that's helped us get through this year and worked extra hours to make all those successes happen. Along with you as producers and your cooperation for the company. Along with suppliers and vendors that's helped improve our company and help our operations to be more functional. So we're we're working to utilize more space. We're obviously we're building more space up at Wayland and making sure that every day that we use what we have. The big crops, they keep our maintenance team busy. All those bushels and volume, it's wearing out what we think is new, and but we're maintaining. So we appreciate your support from you, the employees, producers, and our vendors. Thank you.
At this time, I'd like to call Scott Meyer to the podium. Scott is very appreciative that you're here.
Before I do my short part, I would also like to thank all of you patrons for your business over the past year. As Roger alluded to, we've had 2 successful record-breaking years, but it's come at the cost of the prices at your farm gate. So I know that it's not all a win-win for everybody in this room. So we do strive at the co-op to provide you with a competitive outlet, to move your grain, give you competitive prices, keep everyone around here honest. As Ken alluded to, we started loading in April. We had about 8 months of loading, so January, February, March, and half of December. So 8 to 9 months loading. We loaded almost 1,200 barges. That's a little over 35 barges a week. So all the guys in this room, we've got managers at every location here, guys, gals, us at their home to keep everything moving and providing with as good a service as we possibly could. At this time, I would like to ask for the current and past employees and board members to please stand that are in attendance here. Current and past employees and board members to please stand. We all give them a round of applause.
it is time for the election of directors. I would like Andrew Campbell to come forward and give the nominating committee report.
I need to ask Terry Slippin to be the temporary secretary. I was going to ask for Susie Gray to come forward and give the nominating committee report.
Parker Hare was unable to join us tonight. A nominating committee meeting was held Monday, June 23rd, 2025 in Ursa, Illinois at the Ursa Farmers Cooperative Administrative Office. The purpose of this meeting was to select a list of candidates for election to the Board of Directors of Ursa Farmers Cooperative to be placed on the ballot. The committee consisted of the following: Andy Campbell, Parker Hare, Tyler Roskamp, Tim Gottman, John Upkis, Craig Hunziker, and Aaron Stevens. Andy Campbell was chosen to be the chairperson, and Parker Hare was chosen as secretary. There are 3 positions up for election this year, with 3 candidates vying for a board position. We received 3 nominations that were submitted to the Ursa Administrative Office by Friday, June 20th, 2025. The committee contacted those that expressed interest by the deadline, and each asked to have their names placed on the ballot. The committee recommends that the members place the following candidates on the ballot for purposes of election for a term as follows: Jason Plunkett, 2 years; Drew Gassler, 2 years; Craig Suter, 1 year. Craig will term out, having served 10 years next August. I would like to thank the members of the nominating committee for their due diligence in this process. Thank you.
As reported by the nominating committee, the list of nominees up for election to serve a term of 1 or 2 years for the Board of Directors of Ursa Farmers Cooperative are the following: Jason Plunkett, 2 years; Drew Gassler, 2 years; Craig Suter, 1 year. This year we had 3 candidates vying for 3 seats. Ballots were mailed out with proxies with the deadline of Thursday, August 14th. At this time, I ask Karen Voss to come forward to give the election results, please.
The following candidates received the most votes: Jason Plunkett, Drew Gassler, and Craig Suter. Congratulations.
At this time, I'd like to have a motion for the floor to elect the following: Jason Plunkett, 2 years; Drew Gassler, 2 years; Craig Suter, 1 year. Please state your name. Scott Ray. And ask for a second.
I'll second it.
Please state your name.
Joe Schroeder.
All those in favor, motion say yea. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Terry, would you cast a unanimous vote, please? Tonight we have re-elected Jason Plunkett, Drew Gassler, and Craig Suter to the Board of Directors of Ursa Farmers Cooperative. Congratulations to all.
You have nominated your term board members. It is now time for new business. I'm going to read you the letter we mailed you regarding qualified and non-qualified stock. As a result of a thorough review of the Ursa Farmers Co-op bylaws concluded after we sent out our proxies for the 105th meeting, our attorney has determined that the original bylaws only provide voting privileges associated with qualified stock. Ursa Farmers Co-op has issued non-qualified stock starting in 2012. Issuance of qualified stock and what column, non-qualified stock, assigns a name or ownership in UFC. The board feels that with the ownership, voting privileges should come with, and thus the reason for the bylaw amendment. The action below has been approved by the board and will be voted on at this meeting. I will read the resolution to you. The resolution states this: the resolution of shareholders of Ursa Farmers Cooperative Company. Whereas Ursa Farmers Cooperative Company, an Illinois Agricultural Co-op Association organized under Illinois law, we are UFC, desires to amend its article of incorporation and bylaws to memorialize the historic treatment of voting rights of patrons receiving qualified, we're adding the word non-qualified, allocated equity. Whereas the UFC Board of Directors has approved and hereby recommended that members of the UFC approve an amendment to the UFC Article of Incorporation to reflect the historic treatment of voting rights of patrons receiving qualified, adding the word non-qualified, allocated equity. So, now therefore be it resolved that paragraph 3 of section 4 of UFC amended and restated articles of incorporation shall be amended to say this: each share of common stock and preferred stock issued has one vote. In addition, a patron receives one vote for every $25 in qualified and/or non-qualified equity allocated to that patron. That the historic voting voting rights of patrons described herein are ratified, retroactive, and approved prospectively. There we go. That was a good word. That each, the president, the vice president, the board of directors of the UFC is hereby authorized to execute an amendment to the Article of Incorporation and file any such documents with the Illinois Secretary of State and Illinois Department of Agriculture as necessary. We need to refer that all actions taken by the officers of the Board of Directors of UFC in connection with the historic voting rights of patrons receiving qualified and, adding the word non-qualified, allocated equity prior to the adoption of these resolutions are hereby ratified and adopted as if expressly set forth herein. Is there any discussion before I ask for a motion to the amendment? Is there a motion to accept the amendment? I recognize Ted Knorr as making the motion. Is there a second? David Dieter. Mr. David Dieter is the second. Thank you. All in favor of changing and amending our rules to what was read, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed, please say nay. Our motion is passed. Is there any other new business that you would like brought before this governing body as we sit here together tonight? Seeing no other business, it's my privilege to close this out this evening. I'm supposed to have something witty and great to say, and man, I just haven't been around Rudy Campbell enough to have that. So with that, I want to thank every employee and every member of the team, management team in here. You guys swallowed a huge crop last year. Last year's corn crop was enormous. Unfortunately, employees, we're going to ask you to do it again. We got another one coming. We thank you for making room, getting things cleaned out, getting things fixed up, and having us ready to take the patrons' granted. That's the business we're in. The river's been favorable to us the last couple of years, and that's how it happens. We bring it to our inlets, we bring it to our river houses, we get it in barge, and we send it down to where it can be turned into feed, fuel, and fiber. So, members and patrons, as we close out this meeting, we're going to do some more things. I covered everything. Directors? Did I forget anything? All right. I've been on the board of directors for 9 years, so I've had to come up here. I've had a speaking part the last 2 years. This is the first time we've had to actually have open business for items, so that was a new trip for me. So, Ms. Karen, do we have some door prizes? Okay. I'd like to call Craig Suter and Jason Plunkett forward, board members to help.
So we have one $250 prize for, there's a drawing for those that entered all their proxies on time. And that winner is Kyle Roskamp. And then the next two are prizes for just coming tonight. If you pull out your tickets, we got 669-8039. All right. Keep your tickets out. We got 669-7995.
Here we are, we're about to close out the 105th annual meeting of your co-op. Your co-op is stronger today than it was in, well, I guess in comparison. It may not be as strong as it was in 1920, but sure, I had a lot for you. All right. I've been asked to make the announcement, if you're going to stay around for food and hors d'oeuvres, we need you to go out the door in this corner here and file back down the hallway to get your food and come back in. That way we don't have the congestion at the three doors. So please exit the large white doors and come back to the three individuals. From the floor, is there a motion to adjourn? We can stay till midnight. Ken Dusterhouse has made a motion. The second member back here, please state your name. Yes, Mrs. Likes, Miss Elizabeth Likes. Thank you. All in favor of adjourning this meeting, the 105th Ursa Farmers Co-op annual meeting, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Thank you for your patronage.